Originally released on December 23rd, 2020, Albedo is getting his first ever rerun in Genshin Impact, and here is what you need to know before you consider pulling on the Albedo banner. As a disclaimer, this type of video addresses character in a meta point of perspective and are not meant to stop you from pulling your favorite husbando if you do desire. Albedo is currently considered to be a alright viable character who is not really in the meta at the moment, rated at 2 out of 5, which means he is usable, but overall might not be great for your Primogem value for your account. At the current moment, Albedo is present in two top tier meta teams, with one being Xiao and Double Geo, aka Zhongli and Albedo, and the other being Hu Tao with once again Double Geo, aka with Zhongli and Albedo again. And you can see that Albedo is kind of a carry on for Zhongli. Albedo is only really used in these teams because there are not much better options other than Albedo, and mostly he's there for the Geo resonance with Zhongli. This means that Albedo is not necessary in these teams at all because you're just going for the Geo resonance. Putting a Ningguang in these party can also work as well, on top of the fact that Ningguang can bring a TTDS. However, Albedo is generally better than Ningguang. What this does mean is that if we ever get better option for these characters, Albedo is going to be the first character in these party to be replaced or power crap. In fact, with the latest release of Thoma, we have already seen this being the case with the Hu Tao team. Hu Tao would much prefer to bring Thoma and therefore would also pair a Anemo character on top of that instead of bringing Albedo, which effectively means that currently the only top tier meta team that somewhat care about having Albedo is the Xiao team. And Albedo might be replaced later on as well when better support for Xiao get released. Of course, while Albedo is not really present in top tier meta team, for Geo type of team, Albedo is usually one of the first character that you consider. He is going to be the best choice as the second party member, and so if you're looking to play Geo main DPS like Noel or Ningguang, then Albedo will be a really good choice. Unfortunately, neither of these characters are currently considered to be meta at the moment, and therefore Albedo just fall along with them, simply because these teams are not meta and so Albedo is not a meta character. However, in the second half of the 2.3 patch, we will be getting a new Geo main DPS, namely Itto. Currently, Albedo is projected to work very well with Itto. However, Itto still have many unknown property around him, with him being a future character, and it will be very hard to tell if Itto will be meta at all until he get released and Freecrafter gets to properly freecraft him. In terms of meta reason, it is very dangerous to roll a support for a potential future character that have potential future synergies, as there are just way too many unknown factors, and so this should be only done at your own risk, knowing that Albedo might not really work that well with Itto, or Itto might just not be in the meta still. Anyway, regardless, let's clear up some misconception. When Albedo first came out, he was labeled as a very free-to-play friendly for your account, very cheap to build character that worked almost in any team comp. However, while that was true in the original 1.1 patch standard, in today's 2.3 or 2.4 patch standard, this is no longer the case. Especially with the Abyss difficulty keep on scaling up, how cheap a character is to build is not really relevant anymore, and what most players should aim for should be good and strong late game character that will be able to carry them through the difficult Abyss. In fact, when bringing in how cheap to build a character is into the argument, there are stronger characters that are cheaper to build than Albedo, namely characters like Xiangling and Beidou are cheaper to build than Albedo, but they are also stronger, since both of these characters are able to use the Emblem artifact set, which is the most resin efficient artifact set, but they both have a very strong free to play event weapon, like the Cash for Xiangling and the Sea Lord for Beidou. And while it is true that Albedo can be slotted into almost any team comp, the only thing he does in those team comp is to provide off-field damage. Usually, when possible, slotting in a better character with better synergies in those team comp will result in much better results. For example, you could play something like Xingqiu's, Xiangling, and Bennett, and then finally put Albedo in the 4th slot. And this of course will work decently well, as Albedo is able to provide a huge amount of off-field damage. However, replacing Albedo with a Sucrose or Kaza in this slot, who have much more synergy with this team, will be much better, and thus should be the end game goal that you aim for. In fact, Albedo could even negatively harm your team comp by taking away potential elemental gauges and therefore taking away potential reaction away from your main DPS to do, which means that this is going to be a huge damage loss for your other party member. And while Albedo will be getting a power up in the 2.3 patch, will a new defensive artifact set as well as a new event weapon that is suitable for him. These are most likely not enough to fix his core issues, which mean he's not gonna be very good still. Albedo's core issue come down to the fact that he is a Geo character, which does not have many synergies with other element, aka pretty much any other character in the game that are not Geo. This was covered in a recent video in detail about why Geo doesn't work with other elements, so you can check that out if you're curious in full detail. However, on top of that, he has split scaling between his elemental skill and elemental burst, while Albedo elemental skill scale with defense, Albedo elemental burst scale with attack. So that means that when you are building Albedo, one part of his kit is not going to be fully utilized and not going to be fully built, and therefore he also suffers from that. Just in case you're thinking of going for Albedo's Constellation, the reality is that Albedo does not have really amazing Constellation, as they are very minor increase. Commonly, people like to think that Constellation for Albedo is going to be a huge damage increase for Xiao. However, this is a very big trap and it's not the case, as Xiao already have a lot of damage percent from his elemental burst, and the Constellation 4 damage bonus with Xiao elemental burst damage bonus is going to be a additive bonus, and that means that the actual increase here is actually not that big. Overall, unless you're really keen on drafting a Geo team potentially in the future with Itto, personally, at the current moment in the current patch of Genshin Impact, I cannot really recommend pulling for Albedo, as his Primogem value is just not very high and can be easily power crept by potential future support once we do get those as well.